It's an interesting concept, isn't it, the circle of life, because it is something that is very much in our mindset. We always talk about those things, one generation to the next generation to the next generation. It is in that kind of circular pattern. And when you think about it, you know, most of us kind of start off in this human physical life, you know, in diapers, where most of us are probably going to end up in diapers. And it really is kind of that circular pattern of what we do. And when you think about that concept of circle, it is something that for eons has been thought about as either a community, a spiritual representation, something where it brings people together. Because what is a circle? It is something that they say has no beginning or end. And it also is something that if you measure from the center to the outward parts of the circle, there's no one spot that's further away than the other. So everything is equal around that central aspect of what a circle is. And that concept has taken things like further. I mean, you think about what we think about in terms of when we think about something that is circular. You look at things like Stonehenge. You look at things of indigenous people where they would sit in a circular pattern for their time together, their community time together, their rituals together. We think even in mediumship. What do we talk about? We talk about mediumship circles or physical phenomena circles. It's that concept of being together. It's that concept that no one is greater than the other. And it is the concept that we are all in this together as a community or as a people, as a group, as a country, as a world, whatever it may be. And all of those circular things, rings, things that we use symbolically to say there is no beginning, there is no end, things are eternal. But if we also look at a circle in a slightly different way, we may look at a circle and say, well, it can be used to confine, because people build circles, corrals, things to keep livestock in, horses in, animals in, so that they don't run away. We sometimes build fences around our property, around our homes, around our areas. And what is that for? That is to keep a separation. So we can also look in a way at a circle as a separation, something that can confine us if we choose not to go outside of that circle. It can confine us. So sometimes, as much as we look at something to be in that way of sacred, of something that has a meaning that goes beyond maybe our physicalness, we also have to look at, does that confine us? Does that keep us in a safe place, a safe zone, somewhere where we don't have to perhaps push ourselves or look at things or deal with things that maybe we don't quite want to do? So we are encircled in our own fear or our own need or our own safety, whatever that word is that we put in there. And sometimes we have to look at, let's take that circle apart. Let's find a spot in that circle. And as we find that spot, we can perhaps open it up so that it becomes a line, or it becomes a different symbol, or it becomes a different thought process. And when we can step out of our comfort zone, when we can step out of that area that provides that sense of a fence around us where we don't always have to project ourselves into things that we fear. When we are able to do that, I feel we find our potential. And what is our potential? Our potential is what we can be, what we can change, what we can modify about our thought process, about our prejudices, about our thinking, about our relationships. Our potential is about who we are to where we might want to be. And it doesn't mean that where we are right now is wrong. It doesn't mean it's wrong, but does it mean that we are completed? And I'm not sure we are, because there's always opportunity to grow, to evolve, to think differently, to think outside the box, to be outside of that circular safety net that we create. And our potential, I look at it sometimes, because over the years I've thought about these things, and, sometimes depending on my mood, I can think about them for a while, and other times it's like, do that another day. It's too much for my head. But I look sometimes as, do we come into this world with a preset blueprint? And I have to look at that and say that really can't be, because that then takes away our free will. It takes away our choice. It takes away our humanness, because if we didn't have free will, we would all kind of be walking robots, destined for something, and we can't change that pattern. We can't get out of our way. We can't get out of our comfort zone. We can't get out of that circle. So could it be that we come here with a blueprint, but with the thought of that blueprint could be our potential? And what we do with our day-to-day choices brings us closer to that potential or further away. So I don't feel that we are predestined. I don't feel that we have an end date in sight, or we must do this or we must do that. But when we happen to step out of our comfort zone and try something, and it just feels right, it just feels like it belongs with us, or we belong in that environment or that thought process, something triggers in us. Something just grabs us and says, this feels like home. I know from my experience, and, I thank Stephen for bringing up Leonard, because, my experience with spiritualism started one time when I saw a spiritualist service and Leonard happened to be there. And I walked in, and I didn't know much about spiritualism at the time. I'd been through my own journey with religion and God, and, what that was to me or wasn't. And I walked into this space and I sat in the very back row, because I was figuring, well, if horns pop out of his head or something happens, I can make a quick exit. I'm not here for good. I can get out. So I sat in the back row. And as I started to hear what was being said, and I saw my first demonstration of mediumship, and I could feel that connection. I could feel that love. Not that I knew it, not that I could say, oh, I saw that person standing in front of me, or I heard that person. I didn't. But I felt the love. I felt that piece of the puzzle that had always been missing for me, that connection. And I knew in that moment I felt at home. Now, it didn't turn out to be my long-term home, but it started me on a path that was outside my comfort zone. It took another step when my friend, who was supposed to come with me the next week, she'd come with the first week, she couldn't come the next week. And I kind of went into panic mode. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go there by myself. And I really thought about it. And I said, no, it felt right. I felt something there that I hadn't felt before. So I need to be brave, and I need to step out, and I need to go into that again. And I did. And so by stepping out of my comfort zone, I actually redirected my path to where we are now? Or did I just follow a path that was already meant to be? And with that decision, that free will decision to go back or to try it or to listen or to give it a try, did that bring me to that path that I was supposed to be at? I don't know. Honestly, to this day, I don't know. But I do know that if I'd stayed within my circle of not looking or not trying or not at least giving it a go, that I still would have been in that circle. Maybe a little expanded, maybe a little different. I don't know. But I know that I wouldn't be here in this place at this time. So when we look at our circles, our enclosures, circles are very sacred in our thinking. They mean a lot because it does mean that everybody is equal. And to me, personally, that's very important. It's very important that there's not somebody or someone that feels that they are better than, because I don't believe that. I believe we all come from that same place, that same source. We all have that same divinity within us. We all have that same need, that same want to be together, to be with people, to be expanding ourselves, whatever that is. But circles are and can be also, if we look at it in a different way, our restriction. So to step out of it, to step out of the bounds, to look at that, I feel is important sometimes to take a look at. And the other part of that, and I think I do this a lot of times, is we tend to look at the spirit world as something different, as another circle. And sometimes that circle meets up with our circle and we have communication. But again, is that true? And I don't believe it is true, because I believe that our circle that we put into that process or that thought is only our thought. So when we say the spirit world is a thought away, we make it a thought away. When we say we have to meditate, for 50 minutes before we touch the spirit world or listen to music or do this or do that, we create that circle. We create that separation. We create those boundaries. But when we look at it as part of our life, no different, but part of our life, where the energy of the spirit world and the energy of the physical world are two energies, but are working in the same way, then all we do is walk into it. All we do is take the breath into it. And it's not as much of a mystery, and it's not as much of a boundary, because we tend to put the boundaries on that, not them. So in our circle of life, we get back to sometimes seeing people that we haven't seen in a very long time. I look forward to when we might see Leonard next year, because he will be coming into our center, whether either via Zoom or in person. It's good to see people that we haven't seen in a while, but it's also good to remember that those circles don't have to remain circles, that at any moment of time, we can open that gate up, step out, take a breath, and see where the next footstep on our path is. And if we're lucky, we get to meet people like everyone that is on this Zoom meeting today, this service today. If we're lucky, we get to see the ways that other people think and the other people, as other people work and as other people's customs. We step outside of our comfort zone, we step into life. So as we go through this week, maybe this month, maybe this year, you know, who knows what will be in front of us. But all I know is that if we stay in a circle, we're not going to get the full benefit of it. And if we take that step forward, we just may. So perhaps think about that over the course of time. If you have that decision to make, you have another chance at something. You have a thought of maybe I want to do this. And instead of staying in the fear of it, go into the experience of it and see what may change. So thank you today for your attention, and thank you for being here. I do really gratefully appreciate each and every one of you.